The alien empire was on the verge of total victory. From their grand command centers scattered across the galaxy, the alien commanders celebrated their near-complete domination of human space. Every calculation and strategy had worked in their favor. Their fleets were technologically superior, their armies vast and unstoppable. For years, they had steadily pushed humanity back, system by system, planet by planet, until humans were backed into the last corners of their territory. The war had raged on long enough for the alien commanders to sense its end. For them, this conflict had always been about efficiency. They had superior firepower, resources, and numbers. To the aliens, humans were a tenacious species, but they lacked the sophistication and technology to pose a real threat. It was only a matter of time before the final human resistance was crushed. Every battle over the past few years had been a clear victory. Their advanced weaponry tore through human ships like toys, and on the ground, their soldiers overwhelmed human forces with ease, thanks to superior armor and tactics. The commanders reflected on how easily they had outmaneuvered humanity. Early in the war, there had been brief flashes of human ingenuity, but those moments of resistance had long since faded. Now, humanity was little more than a dying ember, burning out in the cold void of space. Alien fleets were already positioned to deliver the final blows, with every strategic planet under constant surveillance. The last remnants of human military strength were scattered and weak, barely holding on. The alien commanders saw no reason to rush the end. They were content to let the humans exhaust themselves further before delivering the decisive strike. To them, the war had become routine. Human forces were predictable, their movements easily countered, and their attempts at resistance increasingly desperate. From the alien perspective, humans were no longer a threat, just a species fighting out of pride, refusing to accept the inevitable. Each passing day saw the alien forces tighten their grip, and soon the last of humanity would fall. But on the human side, desperation was mounting. Earth's leadership had watched the tides of war turn against them for years. Their fleets were depleted, colonies lost, and their once hopeful outlook had grown grim. Earth's very survival was at stake, with no fallback plan or strategic retreat left to save them. As the war reached its final stages, humanity was losing. In the halls of Earth's military command, there was talk of one last chance. Exhausted generals, worn down by years of defeats, were planning something drastic. Whispers of a secret weapon, a final gambit, circulated among the highest-ranking officers. They knew that if they did not act soon, all would be lost. It was clear that this desperate plan would either save humanity or seal its fate. The alien commanders, in their arrogance, had no idea what the humans were planning. They believed the humans were incapable of such strategic innovation at this late stage of the war. To them, humanity's final days would be a slow, inevitable collapse under the weight of superior alien forces. The idea that humans could prepare for an all-out assault on key alien positions seemed laughable. Alien forces were too strong, too prepared, and too well-equipped for any such attempt to be anything but suicidal. But humanity had no other choice. Earth's leaders knew they had to act. The secret weapon they had been developing, a technology hidden for years, was their only hope. The plan was simple but risky: launch a coordinated assault on the alien empire's most critical planets, using this new technology to bypass defenses and strike deep into enemy territory. It was a last-ditch effort, seemingly reckless and doomed to fail. But for humanity, it was their only shot at survival. The alien commanders, busy planning the final stages of their war, were oblivious to the humans' quiet preparations. Confident in their technological superiority, they remained focused on their impending victory, unaware that humans were about to unleash a force they had never anticipated. Secure in their dominance, they continued to plan the final blow, believing humanity's defeat was all but assured. But as Earth's military leaders made their final preparations, the alien commanders remained ignorant of the danger lurking just beyond their reach. They had won so many battles with ease that they couldn't imagine defeat. Yet the humans had one last trick up their sleeve, a secret weapon that would change the very nature of the war. When the attack came, it would be swift, brutal, and without warning. The stage was set. The alien empire, on the brink of total victory, was about to face an enemy they had severely underestimated. The humans, once weak and cornered, were about to strike back with a vengeance. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The attack came with no warning. Human forces, long thought to be on the verge of collapse, launched a massive and brutal assault on one of the alien empire's key planets. The alien commanders were completely caught off guard. For months, they had grown complacent, certain that humans lacked both the resources and morale to mount any significant resistance. There were no signs of an imminent strike, no last-minute intelligence that could have prepared them. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, bypassing the sophisticated defense systems the aliens had relied on for decades. The first shots were fired with precision, targeting critical infrastructure, power plants, military installations, and communication hubs almost simultaneously. Within minutes, entire sections of the planet's defenses had been obliterated. Alien commanders, lounging in the comfort of their impending victory, found themselves scrambling to respond. They issued frantic orders, trying to get their forces in position, but it was too late. The damage had been done. Entire cities were thrown into chaos, and the planet's best defenses rendered useless. Human ships, which should have been detected and intercepted long before reaching the planet's surface, moved with speed and efficiency that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about human capabilities. They had grown used to the slow, lumbering movements of human fleets that had been dwindling in size and strength throughout the war. But now, humans attacked with a ferocity and coordination that shocked the alien commanders to their core. As reports of destruction poured in, the alien commanders found themselves in disarray. Communications between command centers were jammed, and their planetary defenses, once thought impenetrable, were failing one by one. Ships that had been patrolling the outer sectors now struggled to return to defend the core. But even those that managed to arrive were outmaneuvered by human forces. The sheer speed and precision of the human assault left the alien commanders with little time to react. Panic spread through the alien ranks. Officers, once confident in their superiority, now issued orders without clear strategy, their ships crippled by the sudden attack. Entire fleets were cut off from one another, unable to establish communications or form a coherent defense. It was as if the humans had appeared out of thin air, bypassing every precaution the aliens had taken, and as more reports came in, it became clear that this was no isolated incident. Human forces were attacking other key planets across the Empire, hitting vital supply routes and command centers. The attacks were perfectly coordinated, as if the humans had known exactly where to strike to inflict the most damage. Entire sections of the Empire's military infrastructure were collapsing under the weight of this sudden onslaught. Alien soldiers, trained to believe in their technological and military superiority, found themselves in a state of disbelief. They had been taught that humans, while resilient, were no match for the Empire's firepower and strategic prowess. But now the very species they had considered weak and defeated was launching a devastating and relentless attack. The alien commanders, who had once seen humans as little more than a nuisance, now realized they had severely underestimated their enemy. The shock of the attack was compounded by the fact that no one could explain how human ships had gotten so close without detection. The alien empire had spent years perfecting its sensor systems, its early warning networks, and its defensive grids. All of these should have alerted them to the presence of human forces long before they reached critical targets. But somehow, the humans had bypassed everything, and as the chaos deepened, the truth began to emerge. The humans had developed a secret weapon, a new technology that allowed them to manipulate gravity fields. This technology enabled their ships to bypass not only the alien empire's sensor networks but also their defensive systems. It was a complete game changer. The rules of warfare the alien commanders had relied on for decades were suddenly irrelevant. This new technology gave the humans an unprecedented strategic advantage. They could strike at will, appearing in the heart of alien defenses without any warning. The alien commanders were horrified as they realized the humans had found a way to outmaneuver them completely. The balance of power, which had been so firmly in their favor, was now shifting. The humans were no longer the desperate, defeated species they had once been. They were fighting back with a weapon the aliens had no way of countering. The implications of this new technology were staggering. For years, the alien empire had relied on superior firepower and defenses to keep the humans in check. But now, that very advantage was being stripped away. The gravity-manipulating technology made it impossible for the aliens to predict or defend against human assaults. Every move they made was countered before it could even begin. Technology enabled their ships to bypass not only the alien empire's sensor networks but also their defensive systems. It was a complete game changer. The rules of warfare the alien commanders had relied on for decades were suddenly irrelevant. This new technology gave the humans an unprecedented strategic advantage. They could strike at will, appearing in the heart of alien defenses without any warning. As the alien commanders struggled to make sense of the situation, the full scale of the human attack became clear. This was not just a desperate act of defiance, it was a calculated, devastating strike aimed at crippling the empire from within. The humans had developed a weapon that could turn the tide of the war, and they were using it to maximum effect. The alien commanders, once so certain of their victory, now faced the grim reality that they had completely underestimated their enemy. The human assault had shattered their defenses, decimated their fleets, and thrown their entire empire into chaos. Worst of all, they had no idea how to stop it. The humans, once on the verge of defeat, were now fighting with a ferocity and ingenuity the aliens had never anticipated. The balance of power had shifted, and the alien commanders were left scrambling to understand and counter this new human tactic. As their forces continued to be decimated, the alien commanders were reeling. Panic had set in as they struggled to regain control. Their once coordinated and efficient forces were now scattered and disorganized. They had always relied on their technological superiority to keep humans at bay. But now, all of that seemed meaningless. The humans' gravity-manipulating technology had turned their defenses into little more than paper shields. Alien fleets couldn't respond fast enough, and when they did, it was already too late. Human ships bypassed their defenses with ease, striking at key targets before the alien forces even knew they were there. Communications across the Empire were in chaos. Reports from multiple planets flooded in, each more catastrophic than the last. Human forces were everywhere, hitting strategic planets simultaneously and throwing the alien commanders into further disarray. Commanders desperately tried to coordinate a counterattack, but they were always one step behind. Their attempts to regroup were hampered by the fact that human ships seemed to appear out of nowhere. Their traditional tactics, which had worked so effectively against humans for years, were now utterly useless. Every move they made was too slow, too predictable. The alien empire, which had built its entire military doctrine around its technological superiority, now found itself on the back foot. For years, they had prided themselves on their ability to predict and crush human resistance with overwhelming force. But now, they couldn't even see the humans coming. Their superior fleets and advanced weaponry were worthless if they couldn't respond in time. It was a realization that shook the very foundations of the Empire's military leadership. The alien commanders, once so confident, now found themselves in an unfamiliar and terrifying position they were losing. As the alien commanders scrambled to find a solution, the humans pressed their advantage. They weren't fighting for territory anymore, they were fighting for survival. The human strategy was brutal and efficient. They didn't waste time trying to occupy alien planets or engage in prolonged battles. Instead, they focused their attacks on crippling the alien empire's infrastructure. Supply lines were cut off, power grids destroyed, and communication hubs wiped out. The humans were systematically dismantling the empire's ability to wage war. Human commanders, fully aware that this was their last chance, showed no mercy. Their desperation had driven them to a level of ruthlessness the aliens hadn't expected. They knew that if they didn't win now, there would be no future for humanity. Every attack was calculated to inflict maximum damage, with no regard for alien lives or property. The humans were willing to sacrifice everything to secure victory, and their determination was terrifying. Alien worlds burned as human forces tore through their defenses, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. For the first time, the aliens experienced true fear. They had always believed humans were a desperate, dying species, clinging to life in the face of inevitable defeat. But now, they were seeing a different side of humanity, one that was willing to do whatever it took to survive. The humans weren't just fighting to hold on to their territory. They were fighting to destroy the very foundation of the alien empire. The aliens, who had once viewed themselves as invincible, now realized they were dealing with an enemy far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The human attacks were relentless, each one more devastating than the last. Alien commanders found themselves outmatched at every turn. They tried to regroup to mount a counteroffensive, but the humans always seemed to be one step ahead. No matter what they did, their forces were overwhelmed by the sheer ferocity and unpredictability of the human assault. Entire fleets were lost, command centers obliterated, and critical resources cut off. The alien commanders, once so sure of their victory, now found themselves teetering on the edge of defeat. In a desperate bid to regain control, the alien commanders adapted their strategies. They ordered new defensive measures, trying to predict where the humans would strike next. They fortified key installations and rerouted supply lines in an attempt to outmaneuver the human forces. But the gravity-manipulating technology made it impossible for them to defend their positions effectively. The humans could bypass even the most heavily fortified defenses, appearing in the heart of alien territory without warning. Every move the alien commanders made was countered by human forces that seemed to come out of nowhere. It wasn't just the physical toll of the war that devastated the Empire. The psychological toll on the commanders was immense. They had always been in control, always one step ahead. Now they were the ones being hunted, their every move anticipated and outflanked. The sense of helplessness was overwhelming, and for the first time they began to doubt their ability to win the war. The alien commanders were no longer in control of the situation. The humans had changed the rules of the game, and the aliens were struggling to keep up. With every passing day, more planets fell, and more of their forces were lost. The once mighty empire was crumbling, and the alien commanders knew it. Their desperation grew as they realized that their conventional tactics, superior technology, and vast fleets were all useless against an enemy that had outsmarted them at every turn. As the human attacks continued, the alien commanders were pushed to the brink. Their empire, which had once spanned entire sectors of the galaxy, was now a shadow of its former self. They had no choice but to make a final stand, knowing that if they failed, everything they had built would be lost. The humans, driven by desperation and armed with their new technology, showed no signs of slowing down. The alien empire was on the verge of collapse, and the commanders could do nothing but brace themselves for the final blow. The relentless human assaults pushed the alien empire to its breaking point. What had once been a slow, calculated war for dominance had turned into a desperate fight for survival. Human forces, armed with their gravity-manipulating technology and fierce determination, tore through alien fleets like they were nothing. Entire battle groups were lost in the blink of an eye, unable to withstand the sheer ferocity and unpredictability of the human strikes. Planets that had stood as strongholds of the alien empire for centuries were falling, one by one. The alien commanders, once confident in their impending victory, now watched in horror as their empire crumbled beneath the human onslaught. The alien commanders found themselves retreating, something they had never imagined would happen. They had always been the ones dictating the terms of battle, forcing humanity into desperate defensive positions. But now it was the alien empire on the run, scrambling to preserve whatever was left of their once mighty fleets. Commanders gave the order to abandon key systems, planets that had been essential to their war effort, in a desperate bid to regroup and mount some kind of defense. The gravity-manipulating technology that had given humanity the ability to appear out of nowhere left the aliens with no clear countermeasure. Every strategy they had relied on for years was useless. As the humans continued their relentless push forward, they exploited every weakness in the alien defenses. It wasn't just about brute force anymore. Human commanders were systematically dismantling the alien empire's ability to wage war. Supply lines were severed, command centers obliterated, and critical resources wiped out. The aliens had nothing left to fall back on, no reserves to call upon. The human forces, once seen as the weaker, desperate species, had become unstoppable. The alien commanders, now in full retreat, could do nothing to slow them down. Sensing that victory was within their grasp, the humans launched their final offensive. The assaults became even more aggressive, with human ships appearing on the edges of the last remaining alien strongholds. There was no hesitation, no mercy. Human commanders knew that this was their moment to end the war once and for all. They pushed their forces to the limit, determined to destroy what little remained of the alien empire. The aliens, who had once controlled vast sectors of the galaxy, were now cornered in a handful of systems, desperately trying to regroup. But even among the alien commanders, cracks began to show. Some, seeing the futility of the situation, attempted to flee the battlefield. They took what was left of their ships and abandoned the fight, hoping to escape the inevitable collapse of their empire. Others, driven by pride or sheer desperation, continued to fight, refusing to accept defeat. They threw everything they had at the advancing human forces, but it was a hopeless effort. Their once cohesive military was now fractured and disorganized, with no clear leadership and no plan for victory. The human forces, having gained the upper hand, showed no signs of stopping. The final stage of the war had arrived, and they were determined to end it decisively. The last of the alien strongholds fell quickly. Human forces, using their gravity technology to devastating effect, appeared inside the heart of alien defenses, overwhelming them before they could respond. The alien commanders, once so confident in their empire's invincibility, now faced the reality of their total defeat. They had underestimated humanity from the beginning, dismissing them as weak, desperate, and outmatched. Now that very species had brought their vast empire to its knees. In the final moments of the conflict, the alien commanders were forced to confront the grim reality. Their fleets were gone, their planets in ruin, and their once great empire shattered beyond repair. The humans had fought with a desperation and ruthlessness that the aliens had never anticipated. What the aliens had seen as weakness, the humans had turned into their greatest strength. They had nothing left to lose, and that made them the most dangerous force the galaxy had ever seen. The humans, standing victorious after years of being on the brink of extinction, had done the impossible. They had taken on the most powerful empire in the galaxy and won. The alien commanders, broken and defeated, could only watch in horror, unable to comprehend how their vast military might have been dismantled so completely. The species they had once considered nothing more than an annoyance had proven to be their undoing. The war was over, and the humans had emerged as the new power in the galaxy. For the alien commanders, the defeat was not just a military loss, it was the end of everything they had known. Their empire, once the dominant force in the galaxy, was no more, and the humans, the species they had dismissed and underestimated from the beginning, stood victorious. The alien empire's once celebrated command centers, now shadows of their former glory, buzzed with desperation and chaos. What had once been a network of synchronized and efficient communication channels was now fragmented, riddled with fear and confusion. Reports from every corner of the galaxy poured in, detailing the staggering losses inflicted by the relentless human assault. Alien officers, who had once led with cold precision, now found themselves reduced to panic-stricken figures, scrambling to issue countermeasures that fell woefully short of halting the human onslaught. Meanwhile, humanity was far from the broken species the aliens had perceived. Their desperation had fueled a fierce determination, allowing them to tap into the very ingenuity and adaptability that had long been underestimated. The secret weapon, their gravity-manipulating technology, proved to be the ultimate equalizer. Human fleets appeared where they were least expected, striking with pinpoint accuracy and disappearing before the aliens could mount an effective response. Each attack was calculated, strategic, and devastating, designed to dismantle the alien empire's vast infrastructure piece by piece. Alien commanders were left grasping at the remnants of their empire, unable to comprehend how their superior technology had been rendered obsolete so quickly. Their most advanced ships, which had once dominated entire sectors, were now reduced to wreckage in the cold void of space. As human forces continued their assault, entire fleets that had been the pride of the alien military were annihilated. No defensive measure, no strategic retreat seemed to work. Humanity had rewritten the rules of war, and the alien commanders were powerless to stop them. Every passing day brought new horrors to the alien empire. Worlds that had been bastions of alien strength for centuries were now falling into ruin. Cities that had once stood as symbols of alien dominance were reduced to smoldering craters, their populations decimated. The alien empire, which had once spanned vast sectors of the galaxy, was now a crumbling shadow of its former self. Commanders who had once been hailed as brilliant tacticians were now helpless in the face of a force they had never anticipated. The humans, once seen as a nuisance, were now their greatest threat. As human forces pushed deeper into alien territory, the once coordinated alien defenses disintegrated into chaos. Alien fleets, once an impenetrable wall of destruction, were now scattered, unable to regroup and mount a counteroffensive. Every attempt at resistance was swiftly crushed, and the alien commanders knew that time was running out. The humans were no longer a species fighting for survival, they were now a force of nature, relentless and unyielding in their pursuit of victory. With every successful human attack, the alien empire grew weaker, its resources stretched to the breaking point. Supply lines were severed, leaving entire fleets stranded and without reinforcements. Communication hubs were obliterated, cutting off command centers from their forces. The once mighty empire was now on the verge of total collapse, its leaders desperate to salvage what little remained of their power. But the humans showed no mercy. They pressed their advantage, knowing that victory was within their grasp. Alien commanders, once so confident in their impending victory, now faced a grim reality: their empire was crumbling beneath the weight of the human assault. Every battle ended in disaster. Every strategy they had relied on for years was rendered useless by the humans' gravity-manipulating technology. Entire sectors of the galaxy that had once been under firm alien control were now battlegrounds, with human forces tearing through alien defenses as if they were made of paper. The aliens had no choice but to retreat, abandoning key systems in a desperate attempt to regroup and mount a final defense. The alien empire's collapse was now inevitable. Commanders who had once celebrated their impending victory now found themselves staring into the abyss, watching as everything they had built over centuries was reduced to rubble. Human forces, driven by desperation and fueled by their newfound technological superiority, showed no signs of stopping. The aliens, who had once prided themselves on their ability to crush human resistance with overwhelming force, now found themselves utterly outmatched at every turn. As the final stage of the war approached, the alien commanders made one last, desperate attempt to regroup and hold the line. They fortified what few remaining strongholds they had left, hoping to slow the human advance. But it was a futile effort. The humans, armed with their gravity technology, bypassed every defense the aliens could muster. Every stronghold fell, every defensive line was shattered. The alien commanders, once so sure of their superiority, were now nothing more than relics of a fallen empire, watching helplessly as their worlds burned. In the end, the alien empire, which had once spanned the galaxy, was reduced to a handful of broken worlds and scattered fleets. The commanders who had once dictated the course of the war were now fugitives, fleeing from a relentless human force that had surpassed every expectation. The humans, once on the verge of extinction, had not only survived but had risen to become the dominant force in the galaxy. The war was over. The humans, driven by desperation and armed with their newfound technology, had emerged victorious. The alien commanders, once confident in their empire's invincibility, were now left to contemplate the ruins of everything they had fought for. Their empire, which had once ruled with an iron fist, was no more. The humans, whom they had dismissed as a primitive and desperate species, had outwitted, outmaneuvered, and outlasted them. In the final moments of the conflict, as the last alien strongholds fell, the galaxy was forever changed. The humans, who had once been seen as weak and insignificant, were now the new rulers of the stars. The alien empire, which had once been the most powerful force in the galaxy, had been shattered beyond repair. And as the dust settled on the ruins of their once mighty civilization, the alien commanders were forced to confront the harsh reality they had underestimated humanity, and it had cost them everything.